Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly. When did getting out of bed start requiring effort? Not just sleepiness, not just stiffness, but actual physical effort. Like your body needs a moment to remember how to do something it's done 10,000 times before. Maybe you've noticed it takes you a beat longer to push yourself up from the couch. Maybe your grip feels a little weaker opening a jar than it used to. Maybe you chalked all of it up to getting older, to just the natural order of things. And here's the part that should stop you in your tracks. Most men over 60 are losing muscle at a rate they would never accept if they could actually see it happening. But they can't see it. Because the signs are quiet. They're subtle. They hide in plain sight, disguised as tiredness, as aging, as just the way things go. Here's what most people never realize. Muscle loss, what doctors call sarcopenia, doesn't announce itself. It doesn't send you a warning letter. It doesn't show up one morning and say, "Hey, I've been stealing your strength for the last 5 years." It tiptoes in, sign by sign, so gradually that by the time most men notice something is genuinely wrong, they've already lost a significant amount of the strength and muscle tissue they'll need to stay independent for the next 20 years of their life. But here's the good news, and I mean this sincerely. The fact that you're watching this video right now means you're asking the right questions before it's too late to make a real difference. Because catching these signs early and understanding what's actually driving them changes everything. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to know 7 specific signs that muscle loss is happening in your body right now, even if you feel relatively fine, and you're going to understand what each one is really telling you, so you can actually do something about it. If this is the kind of content you're looking for, real, practical health information for men who want to stay strong and capable as they age, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Here at Golden Age Strength, every single week, we bring you no-nonsense strategies built specifically for men over 50. Not generic advice, not content made for 25-year-olds. Information designed for where you actually are in life. Now, before we get into the 7 signs, I want to reframe something, because most men who start noticing these warning signals assume the same thing. They think this is just aging. They think it's inevitable. They think, well, I'm 63, or 67, or 72, and this is just what that feels like. And here's the thing. That belief, as understandable as it is, might be the single most dangerous idea a man your age can carry around, because it turns a solvable problem into an accepted one. The science is actually clear on this. Muscle loss accelerates after 60, yes, but it is not a runaway train with no brakes. The right information, applied consistently, genuinely moves the needle. This isn't about turning back the clock to 30. It's about keeping enough muscle mass and functional strength to live the life you want on your own terms for as long as possible. So let me introduce the framework I want to use today, because I don't want you walking away from this video with a scattered list of 7 things to worry about. I want you to leave with a clear, organized picture. I call it the silent signals system. 7 warning signs, each one a window into a specific biological process that accelerates muscle loss. Not random symptoms, not vague complaints, but specific signals your body is already sending you. And once you learn to read them, you can't unread them, which means you can start responding to them instead of just suffering through them. Let's start with the first signal, and this one catches men completely off guard because it has nothing to do with lifting weights or exercise. It's morning stiffness that takes longer than 15 minutes to shake off. Now, most men assume joint stiffness in the morning is purely a joint problem, arthritis maybe, or just wear and tear. And while joint health is certainly a factor, there's another layer to this that most people never hear about. When you lose muscle mass around a joint, that joint loses its primary support system. Think of your muscles as the suspension system on a car. When the suspension is strong and well maintained, the car handles bumps smoothly, the wheels stay properly aligned, and everything runs the way it should. When the suspension weakens, every bump in the road becomes a jolt. Every pothole jars the whole frame. Joints work the same way. Reduced muscle tissue means less cushioning, less stability, and more friction, which shows up every single morning when you first try to move. Here's what the research tells us. The relationship between muscle mass and joint health is bidirectional. meaning they affect each other in both directions. Less muscle leads to more joint stress, and more joint stress often leads to less movement, which leads to even faster muscle loss. It's a cycle that feeds itself silently, month after month. So if your morning stiffness has been gradually getting worse over the last few years, or if it takes you longer and longer to feel like yourself after getting out of bed, that's your body sending you a clear message worth paying attention to. But here's where things get more interesting, because the second signal is one that surprises almost every man who hears it for the first time. It's unexplained weight gain, specifically around the belly, even if you haven't changed what you eat. Most men think gaining belly fat is about eating too much, and while diet absolutely matters, there's a deeper mechanism at work that almost nobody explains. Muscle tissue is metabolically expensive. Your body burns a meaningful amount of calories just to maintain muscle, even while you're sitting completely still. Scientists call this your resting metabolic rate. As you lose muscle, your body's engine gets smaller. It burns less fuel at rest. But your appetite, your eating patterns, your daily routine, those don't automatically adjust to match. So the same meals that maintained your weight at 55 can slowly cause fat to accumulate at 65, not because you changed anything, but because your muscle mass quietly decreased and took some of your calorie-burning capacity with it. Here's a fact that connects this all together. Visceral fat, the fat that builds up around your midsection and around your internal organs, is not just cosmetically frustrating. Research consistently links higher levels of visceral fat in older adults to increased systemic inflammation. And that inflammation actively interferes with your body's ability to build and maintain muscle. So muscle loss causes fat gain, and fat gain accelerates muscle loss further. The two problems feed each other invisibly. If your waistline has crept outward, even though your diet feels roughly the same as it's always been, that's not just a metabolism thing. That may well be a muscle thing. Now, here's the third signal, and I want you to sit with this one for a moment because it's deeply personal for a lot of men. It's a gradual loss of grip strength. Not sudden, not dramatic, just quietly, slowly. Your hands don't feel quite as strong as they used to. Maybe you notice it opening jars. Maybe you notice it when you shake someone's hand and it doesn't feel the same as it once did. Maybe you notice it when carrying grocery bags from the car, that what used to be no effort now feels like actual work. Grip strength might sound like a minor detail, but here's why researchers pay enormous attention to it. Grip strength is one of the most reliable indicators doctors have of overall muscle health and biological aging. Major longitudinal studies, including large-scale research tracking thousands of adults across decades of life, have found that declining grip strength correlates strongly with broader muscle loss, reduced functional independence, and even long-term health outcomes. Your grip isn't just about your hands. It's a window into what's happening throughout your entire musculoskeletal system. Think of grip strength like the pressure gauge on a boiler system. The gauge itself isn't the boiler, but the reading on that gauge tells you exactly how the whole system is performing. A weakening grip is your body's pressure gauge dropping, and when you understand that, you stop dismissing it as something minor and start seeing it for what it actually is, a signal worth acting on. Which of these three signs have you already noticed? Drop a comment and let us know, because I think you'll find you're far from alone. Now let's move to the fourth signal in the silent signals system. And this one has a direct impact on quality of life in a way that goes beyond just physical strength. It's fatigue that doesn't make sense given how much you actually did. Here's what I mean. You go through a perfectly normal Tuesday. You run a few errands. You do some yard work. You have a conversation or two that requires some focus. And by 2 in the afternoon, you feel like you've been awake for 36 hours. Not just tired, emptied out. And the frustrating part is, you didn't even do that much. Here's the biological explanation behind this, and it's more direct than most people realize. Muscle tissue plays a major role in how your body produces, stores, and uses energy. Muscles aren't just for lifting and moving. They're a primary site of glucose metabolism, meaning they help regulate blood sugar and energy distribution throughout your day. When muscle mass decreases, Your body's ability to manage energy efficiently decreases with it. The same amount of activity that your younger, more muscular body handled smoothly now costs proportionally more. It's like driving a car that gets worse gas mileage than it used to. You're putting in the same amount of fuel, but you're not going as far. That midday wall, that exhaustion that feels bigger than the day deserves, it isn't weakness of character. It isn't laziness. It's biology. And understanding that distinction matters, because once you understand why it's happening, you can start addressing the actual cause instead of just suffering through it or assuming it's simply what getting older feels like. Stay with me here, because the fifth signal is one that many men dismiss entirely, and that's a mistake that can have real consequences. The fifth signal is changes in your sleep. Specifically, feeling like you sleep but don't recover. You go to bed, you get your 7 or 8 hours, but you wake up and you don't feel genuinely rested. You feel like sleep happened to your body without fully restoring it. Here's the connection most people have never heard explained. Growth hormone, which is one of your body's primary muscle repair signals, is released in significant amounts during deep sleep, particularly during the slow-wave sleep stages that tend to decline as men age. Think of deep sleep as the overnight maintenance crew that comes in after a long shift and fixes everything that got damaged or worn down during the day. Without enough deep sleep, that maintenance crew can't do its job properly. And here's the part that loops directly back to muscle loss. Less muscle mass has been associated in research with disrupted sleep architecture, meaning the loss of muscle and the loss of restorative sleep tend to travel together, reinforcing each other in ways that make both problems worse over time. It's not that poor sleep is just a consequence of aging. It may also be a sign that your body's repair systems, including the systems that maintain muscle, are becoming less efficient.